Our second reading is taken once again from the book of Hebrews. This is our last reading from the book of Hebrews for a while. We've been journeying off and on through Hebrews. It's Hebrews 13 and verses 1 through 8. And as always, listen to what the Spirit might speak into your life today in this reading from Hebrews. Let mutual affection continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember those who are in prison as though you were in prison with them, those who are being tortured as though you yourselves were being tortured. Let marriage be held in honor by all, and let the marriage bed be kept undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterers. Keep your lives free from the love of money, and be content with what you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can anyone do to me? Remember your leaders, those who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Holy wisdom, holy word. Thanks be to God. With such a wonderful reading from the book of Hebrews, preceded by such a wonderful word of worship in music, where do you start? There's so much good stuff going on today, so much good stuff that we just read. I was especially drawn to this verse where it says, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. My grandmother used to make a big deal of that verse. She was quite sure that she had been rescued by angels several times along the roadside. But you know I'm going to ruin it for you, right? That's what preachers do. Imagine how that verse sounded in the ears of a small child who grew up in the house where they had the King James Bible, which says it like this, be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Unawares. I used to hear this as a kid, and because the word entertain to me meant to put on a show, I always imagined singing or juggling or telling stories to a band of angels sitting around the kitchen table. It reminds me of the angel craze back in the 1990s when people were reading short inspirational books about angels and collecting angel figurines. Being a grown-up takes so much fun out of stuff. And now I know that the word entertain can simply mean to host, to show hospitality. And that's how our modern translations put it. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for they might be messengers. That's what angel means, messengers. They might be messengers from God. They might be sent into your life to speak something to you, or to model something for you, or to show something to you that you should have seen but couldn't see. Maybe you have entertained angels unawares. And since an angel is just a divine messenger, maybe you have been an angel unawares in somebody else's life. The point is to treat every chance encounter with a stranger as a possibility of encountering God and listening to God's angels. Strangers, that begs the question, who are strangers and who are not strangers? Who are the strangers in our lives? Are they only just the people that we're meeting for the first time, as all of you are going to do at lunch in a few minutes? Okay, more than a few minutes. Or can they be people that we think we know but don't really? I heard an interview recently with Kwame Alexander. This was at Chautauqua. Kwame Alexander is a black poet and an author of children's books, and he grew up on the Upper West Side of New York. And he was talking about his relationship with his father, who had been a Baptist minister. But unlike most Baptist ministers, this guy was stiff and formal. And he never once said to his son, "I love you." Not once in his life. Now, his parents had a rocky marriage, and Kwame seemed to blame his dad for that. He was a demanding man, dissatisfied, hard to please. Kwame talks about a day when, as an adult, he went up into his father's attic to organize his things, and he came across old vinyl records of early jazz, Duke Ellington. And he could not imagine his stiff father listening to that kind of music. That discovery in his father's attic made him respect the old man a little more than before. He realized that his own father had depths, hidden depths, that he had never discovered. He didn't entirely know his own dad. Later, after Kwame became famous and he wrote some children's books and some books of poetry, he wrote an autobiography, a book about his life in which he tells all the living world, "My dad never said I love you." Oh, come on, was that a passive-aggressive way to broach the topic? He told all the world in his book, "My dad never said I love you." And when he did this, he had two thoughts. He thought, surely my dad is never going to read this book and no one's going to tell him. Or, if he does read the book, then he'll know that this hurt me and I won't have to confront him about it. Well, his father did read the book and he never said a word about it. Then Terry Gross, on the NPR radio show Fresh Air, interviewed Kwame about his autobiography, and she dwelled on the fact that he was so deeply hurt that his dad had never said, "I love you." And she wouldn't let it go. She kept coming back to it. And he admitted on national radio, "Yes, it hurt me deeply that my father never told me he loved me." Part of him hoped that his dad might be listening to the radio broadcast. Part of him really hoped he wasn't listening. Late that night, he got a text message from his father. It said, "When you were in the military, your mother wrote to you every week. What you don't know is that I was the one who bought the paper and the envelopes and the stamps and the pens. In the by and by, you will recognize this as love. But in the meantime, if you need to hear it, I love you." Sometimes the strangers in our lives are the people we think we know. Sometimes they're our angels, speaking God's goodness, God's grace, God's welcome, God's hospitality to us. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels unawares, or without knowing it. Today we get our last installment from the book of Hebrews. I have enjoyed our little visit to the book of Hebrews. Like many of the epistles, the letters in the Bible, it closes with a lot of stray advice, stuff that probably could be its own letter. Little bits of advice for the readers like this. Remember the people who are in prison, just as if you yourself were in prison with them. Let marriage be held in honor by all. Keep yourselves free from the love of money. That's good advice. Our society really loves money, and it encourages us to love money too. The endless quest for more money is a socially respectable way to lay waste to your own soul, for it asks you to put personal gain above everything else, and it tells you that that's good, that that's normal. But that is a sermon for November. Then you've got this mystifying command: show hospitality to strangers, because one of them might be a messenger, an angel, sent to you from God. Who are the strangers in your life? Are they not sometimes the people we love and think we know, but whose lives are deeper and more complicated than we imagined? Are we not strangers too in the lives of the people we meet along the way? Does God not occasionally appoint us, you and me, to speak angelic truths before we exit stage left from that person's life and disappear forever? You know, in the scriptures, this word angel, it just means messenger. It's the name for the book of Malachi, messenger, angel, malak. Sometimes it refers to spiritual beings from heaven, like at Christmas time, like with Gabriel and Michael. In a few instances, this word angel is used to describe the animals that minister to people in their need, like Noah's dove and Elijah's ravens, and the wild beasts that befriend Jesus during his 40 days in the wilderness. But just as often you find this word messenger, this malak, this Malachi, you find that it refers to regular people, sometimes prophets, but people who have been given a task, maybe without their even knowing it, to step into somebody's life for a moment and say the thing that's got to be said, or do the thing that's got to be done, and then perhaps to leave. A messenger, an angel, can be someone who's sent to bring a message from God. They can be strangers that we know, or they can be strangers that we don't know. They bring us truths that we need to hear, and which we might not be able to hear from the regular people in our lives. Every chance encounter with a stranger is a possible encounter with God. But me, you know me, I love words. I used to be an English teacher. It was too much work. I'm still hung up on this word, hospitality. When we think of hospitality, there are a few things that come to mind. First, we're taught from a very young age that getting money is life's biggest goal, and so I think of the hospitality industry, where you could go off and get your degree and become a hotel manager. That could be a very meaningful calling in somebody's life, to provide for the needs of a stranger, the traveler, the sojourner. It's biblical. The other idea I have of hospitality is back in the days when we used to have dinner parties at our house, or Christmas parties, or backyard barbecues or cookouts. You had to know which kind of frittata to serve. You had to guess what your dinner guests would want to make sure it's going to be on the table. That's another form of hospitality, to receive guests. But what does the word mean, hospitality? You can't help but to notice that of its 5 syllables, the first 3 are the word hospital. Hospital. A place where anybody can go when they're broken. A place where anybody can go and they can't turn you away. A place where anybody can go to seek healing and well-being and acceptance. Hospital. The hospitality you find in the Bible, it's everything from the widow of Zarephath, who bakes bread every day for the prophet Elijah and discovers that her flour jar is never empty. That's a good parable for love. You just give and give and give, and there's always more to give. It could be the parable of the Samaritan, which we used to call the Good Samaritan, but that implies that the other Samaritans are bad. It could be like the parable of the Samaritan who rescues a dying stranger alongside the road and pays for his keep. Hospitality means accepting people where they are, in their brokenness, in their messiness, in their need, just like a hospital. It means seeing past all that we don't like about them to the goodness inside of them. It's meeting people where they are, even in their darkest place, and providing for their needs, even if we don't fully understand them. Maybe even if we don't approve. Hospitality is not just putting on a good coffee hour after church, though it is that. Hospitality is checking in on a lonely neighbor. It's taking time to talk. It's looking people in the eye. It's listening between the lines. It's hearing what words cannot tell. It can be something as simple as dropping off groceries for the Carnegie free fridge. It can be a compliment or an encouraging word. Hospitality is anything you do that causes another living being to feel at home in this world, which is the home that we all share, and the home where we should all feel welcome and free to be who we are. And when you do that, when you willingly and freely invite others to feel at home in your presence and in the world that you share, then you just might be entertaining an angel unawares. Maybe your kindness and your welcome will bring out the angelic nature in the person you are with. You don't know what that stranger's life will hold once you and he or she or they part ways. But they will be a little better or a little worse for having known you for just a moment. The life of faith can be hard, but it is simple. It's hard, but it's simple. Model welcome. Adopt a posture of welcome. You pass a person on the sidewalk, and here in the city, you've got choices. You can look away and not say anything, and that's just fine. Nobody can get mad at you for that. You can look at them and not say anything, and that's not good. That's borders on socially unacceptable to look at a person and not greet them. You can look at them and you can smile and you can nod. And maybe that smile and that nod were what that person needed in that moment. Just the realization that there are people out there in the world who aren't out to get you. They just want to smile at you. They just want to nod. Maybe that's exactly what that person needed in that moment's brief encounter without a word being exchanged. Maybe they were busy thinking about how nobody likes them, or how they're not appealing or attractive, or how everyone is selfish and nobody sees them. And into that sad train of thought, a stranger smiles. And it changes things. It says, I see you. I wish you well. I don't know you, but I share the world with you, and I think the world is better with you in it. And in that case, that stranger has been your angel, for that stranger has called out the angel inside of you, and you have perhaps been their angel, for you have spoken a welcome message of grace to someone you will never see again. Every chance encounter with a stranger is an opportunity to experience God, and maybe sometimes to receive a message from God. I do not know what you hold in your heart today as you gather in this room. I don't know what inner stuff you see when you close your eyes in prayer or when your head touches the pillow at night. I don't know what memories come to visit you, what hopes, what feelings or thoughts you bring to the words that I speak from this pulpit. I may know you well, but in other ways we are strangers. For everyone has depths that they will never share. Never. Our calling is not to understand everyone, though we are going to try. And it will be frustrating, and it might sometimes be fun. Our calling is not to understand everyone. It is to welcome them without judgment. They might make choices we don't agree with or comprehend, and if they are your adult children, you will try to help them make those choices. Our calling is not to correct or to teach or to give wise counsel, though God might do all of those things through us. Our calling here in Hebrews is simply to show hospitality, acceptance, welcome, not judging, not turning away from the brokenness or the pain, but making room for it, even welcoming it. Maybe some strangers might appear in our lives for a brief time only to test our faith. People sent by God to teach us the lost art of our hospitality, to restore in us perhaps a bit of our fading, eroding humanity. Perhaps the stranger at times is a person you already know, but not entirely. And maybe, just maybe, you are the stranger in someone's life in the week ahead, sent to act as a momentary messenger, maybe just with your face, of God's welcome, God's grace, God's love. The point is this: we think the little things in our lives don't matter, but they accumulate. We think it's the big things that define us, but there are no big things without little things. The big things are just little things piled up. The big things are just an accumulation of all the little things in our lives. Our calling is to face the world with a spirit of welcome and sharing, one that invites others to feel at home in our presence. You can sense this, can't you, in a person? You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in their posture sometimes. You can see it in their body language. You can hear it in their words, in their voice. As God meets us with arms of welcome, so it is our task to turn and welcome others, to do the same in ways both big and small. It might make a difference in somebody's life. You might be in that moment the angel sent from God, all unawares. Now, if you go into it thinking, I'm going to be the angel here, maybe not. Usually both parties are unaware. Maybe that person is your angel. Let us live with open hearts, open minds, open doors, open arms, open faces. For every chance encounter with a stranger is a possible encounter with God. Amen.